Part of what it means to be human is our tendency to not just live in the present, but also the past, as well as the future. It is our means for us to maintain our security, to remind ourselves of the past, and to safeguard us ahead on what could be imminent. There is one thing, though, that we know is certain, and that is our coming mortality. As even when death is forced upon us, it is something that we have no experience of. And because of this, it causes our greatest angst. And this is something that we fear not just for ourselves, but for others that we leave behind. If only we could understand life, and therefore death, in a way that could give us some comfort to help us fulfil our lives through such uncertainty. Such ideas of the notion of death have come from Schopenhauer, which is the subject of this video. And this wisdom is something that we can all draw from, whether we are one of faith or agnostic. There are other Schopenhauer videos as part of my library of thought, covering all aspects of human nature, showing a perspective through a lens from such an adept eye. Click the links in the description. For Schopenhauer, life is will, which is the world in its essence. It is what our senses experience, what we desire and feel within ourselves, even things that we cannot understand. It is a gift of life that we are given, which is a privilege to live that is taken back at the time of our death. As both birth and death belong equally to life, there is not one without the other. The longevity of life is not of the individual, but of our humanity and the species of all living things, as a means to allow a constant regeneration of life. As it is nature itself who allows us to perish while the world still lingers in motion. And if we think of life and death in this way, it now seems almost absurd when we say we want our lives to live physically forever. As if we go back thousands of years for those people who have lived and then passed, we can ask, what has become of them? We can then look back at our own lives and renew each of its occurrences through thought. And we could ask the same question, what has become of us? If we though think of our lives in its present, when we think of all the things we did in the past and plan for the future, all that is left is our will to live, which in time will pass away. We are, though, human, and it is through our means to seek certainty, to battle through injustice, is why we look at things like philosophy and faith, to seek answers beyond our existence, which is perfectly reasonable. Yet, for if we look beyond for proof, to look for answers, there becomes no need, as the answer lies only within the individual, what we foresee as its own thing in itself. The rest is left for life, on for what it gives and then takes. Our consciousness forms the courage for us to live, but our fear of death is not of pain, as we will endure pain in order to prolong death. Our fears are simply the inevitability of our distinction, which goes against our primal cause of life, which is our will to live. As to fulfill our will to live, we need to recognize the present, realizing with life's pleasures, there is also suffering. And as we close, we can become less troubled by death when we consider our mortality as being part of the affirmation of life. For where there is life, there is also death. The earth rolls on from day into night. The individual dies, but the sun itself burns without transmission, an eternal moon. Therefore, no endless past or future in which he will not exist will frighten him, for he regards this as an empty mirage. Thus, we will no more have to fear death than the sun would the night. We are a being of mind and also of body. And it is this physicality of life is what makes death so difficult to fathom. How then can we make sense of death when what is left after death is beyond what we are able to experience? It is by understanding that death forms a part of life. It is realizing the sanctity and suffering of life, that our bodies are blissful, yet beleaguered. And what is left beyond all of this is a matter of what we can make from life, and also death, within ourselves. As life has its challenges, this is though no different as to how we consider death. It is one thing to disarm our fears. It is another to embrace it.